Hey, what's going on, everybody? How are we doing tonight? We are just getting set up and good to go. Our camera is a little bit off center, but we'll be okay. All right. All right. I'm going to plug in my headphones here. This should help. All right, cool. Hopefully you guys should be able to hear me. Let me just do this real quick. We're trying something new here, so I appreciate the patience on the live stream. Let's do this. Okay. All right, guys. So what's going on? We are going to jump in and talk a little bit about this. All right. So let me go ahead and share my screen. I just saw this real quick and thought it was pretty interesting to see this pop up here. We're going to share my screen there. Then we go jump over here. So this is a new company that is releasing these accessory dwelling units. They're basically putting these out into, they're basically releasing these studio or one bedroom apartments and putting them out in front or putting them, allowing owners to put them into backyards. So this company is called Samara. It's pretty interesting here. Let me make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see it actually all the way. There we go. So this company is called Samara. You've got a yard, do more with it. They're starting to release these in California. California has become much more lenient on accessory dwelling units just like this. So it's basically just like a mini house that you can put in your backyard and, potentially rent it out, use it as a guest house, something like that, right? Whatever it might be. The ridiculous thing about it, though, is their all-in cost is starting at $289,000, which is absolutely crazy. They have studio units at $289,000, and then they have one-bedroom units that are $329,000 units. This one-bedroom unit is still only 550 square feet, which is pretty crazy. Taking a look at this, 550 square feet for $329,000 comes out to just under $600 a square foot. I mean, homes here in Utah are selling for about $200 a square foot. So you definitely get a lot more. I understand that in, California, in some parts, $600 a foot might not be astronomical. That might be fairly normal, but it's still crazy to see that this is what they're charging for a 550 square foot structure. I mean, I could go build this in my backyard. In fact, I did build something very similar. It wasn't quite this big. It was probably a little bit smaller than this. It was about 200 square feet. So about half the size of the studio here. I built it for about $12,000 in my backyard in my previous house. So I think even with this, if you're building, if you're putting in plumbing, you're putting in electrical, you're putting in gas, doing the whole gambit where you could actually like live in this space, I think you could get this done for under, $100,000, maybe 150 at most. So the fact that they're charging 329 is just absolutely asinine. So anyway, just thought that was an interesting point. Wanted to point that out. Had some people interested in these types of things. I get questions about these fairly frequently, but I mean, looking at the inside, it doesn't look like anything special. It's, new and looks nice, but let's jump into what we're talking about here today. So sorry, I'm a little bit nasally. I kind of woke up with some congestion this morning, but taking a look at this here, this is going to be a article that I wanted to cover because this is just something that just came out. UDOT unveils details on new $1.6 billion widening of I-15 through Salt Lake City. So it's not sure how many homes and businesses will be demolished, and the exact cost is still uncertain, though early estimates put it around $1.6 billion. Their plans to widen the interstate. This is going to be Interstate 15 from Salt Lake City to Farmington. So this is basically up through Davis County. The project comes on the heels of UDOT widening these other roads right here. Let's jump down here to these highlights. Yet the highway building, which will lead people to drive more, creating more local and global air pollution continues. So I thought this was an interesting note. I went ahead and highlighted this because I think it's interesting thinking to say that just because you have a wider road causes people to drive more. I don't know about you, but the width of the road, or how accessible that freeway is, I don't know that that really encourages me to drive more. Possibly you could argue that, hey, if you widen the road, traffic goes down, and if traffic goes down, more people are going to drive as opposed to take public transportation. Sure, I think that's an argument, but at the same time, that doesn't offset the air pollution that you're getting from all the cars that are stuck in traffic for 45 minutes idling rather than actually driving full speed when engines are most efficient. Even if there's more cars driving full speed, I still think that might actually be better for air pollution rather than just having a bunch of cars sitting in traffic, not being able to move. So interesting point there, just throwing it out there. Kind of an interesting way of thinking. I should mention that this article, whoever wrote this article, this company, Building Salt Lake, that kind of put this article together, they are against this actual plan. So, there's going to be a little bit of bias there in what we're reading here. So I just figured I'd point that out. This round of highway widening spans from 4 South in downtown Salt Lake to Farmington. That's a pretty big stretch of land. If we come in here, Farmington, Utah, just pull this up here on a map and I'll kind of show you guys what we're actually looking at. So this is Farmington here. Let me get rid of that and zoom out here. So Farmington up here, 4 South is going to be roughly right in here. So it's a pretty big stretch of freeway here. I mean, that's got to be, I don't know, it's got to be at least 12 to 15 miles if I had to guess on that. So it's going to be a pretty big stretch of land. It's been narrowed down to 2 options that UDOT is accepting feedback on at a series of open houses and online. One option would include 6 lanes in each direction, including an auxiliary lane on the sides, plus a single high occupancy vehicle lane in the middle. Add 4 more lanes for shoulder space, and I-15 would be 18 car lanes wide under option A. Option B would also have 6 lanes in each direction, plus 2 shoulders between both sides of the interstate. UDOT would create 2 high occupancy vehicle lanes plus 2 shoulders for a total of 20 lanes across. The set of HOV lanes would be reversed during peak hours, open to southbound motorists in the morning and northbound at night. I think this is actually a pretty good idea. So they have this diagram here. I-15 option A shows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lanes across, plus what would be like a merging lane if you're getting on the freeway or off the freeway. So basically 6 lanes plus HOV, making it almost 7 lanes across on each side. So pretty wide there. But the thing is, when I look at this, I think Utah kind of needs this feature because of the way that the Salt Lake Metro is laid out. Most of the traffic goes north to south, right? You've got Ogden up here on the north end. You've got Provo down here on the south end, Salt Lake here in the middle. I-15 is the main corridor that connects all of these areas, right? So that's over 2.5 million people that are connected through I-15, as their main north-south corridor. So looking at this, I think it's something that's definitely needed. If you've ever tried to go from Salt Lake up into the north end, into Davis County, or even up into Weber, if you're going at rush hour, I mean, forget it. You're going to be sitting in traffic for 45 minutes, maybe an hour, just to travel that short distance. So I think it's personally needed, but I like looking at this option B that they have. Let's see. I thought it was on here. There we go. Yeah. So option B, they have that same auxiliary line. They're going to have 5 lanes, plus an HOV lane. And then they're going to have these HOT lanes, which are in the middle, which will actually give you additional lanes depending on the flow of traffic for the time of day. So like it said, in the morning, it'll be southbound motorists, and then at night, it'll be northbound motorists. They actually did this on 5300 South on from about Redwood Road, I think, to, I don't know, Bangor Highway or something. And it dramatically decreased the traffic that you see there. They actually have it set up so there can be 2 lanes one way during off hours. But if it's peak hours when there's a lot of people commuting, it'll actually go up to 5 lanes in one direction. So it's actually pretty smart. I think it's actually pretty safe. I'm sure there's been accidents and stuff from these changing lanes, but overall, I think it's a great idea personally. So there are streets in Salt Lake City's Guadalupe and Fair Park neighborhoods that are very near the interstate. 700 West is also within the area of potential impact. So there are going to be some houses and businesses that unfortunately are going to, have to get demolished if they move forward with this. For Rose Park and Marmalade, the The 600 North overpass would be widened to 8 lanes at its peak from its current 6. Let me just jump over here, guys, real quick. Hey, if you have questions, make sure to drop it in the comment section below. I'd love to answer them. If you have questions about what it's like to live here, work here, eat, sleep, whatever it is here in Utah, I'd love to help be a resource for you. So let's continue on here and take a look at this. So Beck would also become connected to I-15 at a new interchange added at 2100 North in Salt Lake City, which state officials say might divert heavy truck traffic from gravel companies and refineries so that they avoid Marmalade and Capitol Hill. They're anticipating that this will not increase taxes, right? You heard it here first. Your taxes will not be increased for this project, added Dan Adams, a consultant working with UDOT. But there are more fiscally responsible options for the state to consider and the public to request. For instance, not expanding the interstate. UDOT says this option would lead to pre-pandemic travel times increasing from about 20 minutes to about an hour without this highway expansion. It's worth noting that traffic modeling used to project how many people will be driving in 3 decades is routinely overinflated. In some cases, the state's projection were off by 30%, meaning nearly 1 in 3 drivers the state said would be using US 89 in the future never came. The state is just wrapping up that project now. So pretty interesting conversation here about widening the road here. These guys are obviously against it. I personally am kind of for it. I think it would actually be good. I hate sitting in traffic, and there's a cost to this. There's always going to be pros and cons. I think it would actually be more beneficial to not have people sitting in traffic. It's going to make people, happier. It's also going to save them time. I think economically, it makes sense. Again, so long as it doesn't come out of taxes, that's important. But that being said, I don't know. I think something's got to be done because the traffic really sucks and nobody wants to, experience that. That's what they did in Lehigh, and lo and behold, there's no traffic there anymore. So, it's pretty amazing what, widening these lanes or widening the freeway can do. I also want to talk here about Utah drivers getting a bad rap. So this article was pretty interesting because people will actually say, hey, Utah drivers are the worst. People hate driving here in Utah, and everybody seems to have a problem with it. And everybody has an opinion on it. Christmas Jones has one. He says they're impatient. Another Utah driver says they're bad, they're really bad. Cameron says they're terrible. It's pretty gnarly, not fun. The only person that KSL TV found with nice things to say about Utah drivers was Michael Gibner, who ironically is from Florida. He'd driven in Utah for a grand total of 24 hours when he spoke with him. He said it was a very good experience. So I thought that was pretty interesting. When it comes down to the experts, research rankings provide different answers. Smart Asset ranks Utah 4th best in the nation. Bankrate at Utah has Utah 3rd best. And World Population Review claims Utah has the 2nd best drivers in the country. So it's actually pretty funny to look at this and say that, people think Utah drivers are bad when in fact, all these research companies or, rankings are saying, hey, we actually think drivers are pretty good in Utah. I don't know where they come up with that data. I didn't look into it too far, but I thought that was pretty interesting. I don't know how you quantify like in a truly measurable way, other than just your own personal feelings, how bad the drivers are. Forbes Advisor offers a more sobering survey across the country. It ranked Utah number 1 for the most confrontational drivers, from honking the horn, giving the bird, and riding somebody's tail. So I don't know what the differences here are when it comes to, these rankings up here saying, hey, we got pretty good drivers, to coming down here where it's actually talking about road rage and a lot of people liking to honk the horn, give the bird, and ride someone's tail. Interestingly enough, honking the horn in other parts of the country, of the world outside of, the United States is actually something that's seen as totally normal. Doesn't mean that you're mad or anything. It's just something that, it's basically just saying, hey, honk, honk, I'm here, don't hit me. It's kind of more seen as like a friendly gesture or friendly, notification, if you will. So anyway, I'm sure it gets used for negative purposes, but honking the horn in America is definitely something that is frowned upon. So I thought this was interesting, jumping in here and taking a look at how we think that there's bad drivers here in Utah. I want to move the conversation over here to talk about this rezone that they're seeking for this urban hospital at the site of the old Sears in kind of downtown Salt Lake, South Salt Lake area. They've got over 9 acres of land here in the center of Salt Lake City to build a new hospital. They're requesting a rezone. Building Salt Lake has previously reported that members of Intermountain staff were told by administrators about intentions to build a mid-sized hospital on the site. The Sears block sits between 7th and 8th South, State Street, and Main Street. So if we jump in here, take a look at our map here, I'll show you exactly where this is at. This is right in the heart of downtown. So we got State Street, Main Street, 7th South, 8th South. There's a really popular taco place right here, actually. So this is it right here. They've got this. Let me go like that. Yeah. So here's the old Sears building. It basically takes up this entire block, and they want to build a brand new hospital here on this block. Now, I think that would be pretty cool. It'd be pretty cool to see, a large building like that. Personally, I don't know that a hospital is the best use of that land. Frankly, because there are so many hospitals in the downtown area already. You've got St. Mark's over here, kind of in the Mill Creek area. And then if you come up here to the university, there's got to be at least 10 hospitals in this general, eastern part of Salt Lake City. You've got Primary Children's Hospital, you've got University of Utah Hospital. There's a ton of other hospitals up here as well. And so I just don't personally really see, you got LDS Hospital up here in the Avenues. I just don't personally see why we need another hospital that close to downtown. There's already one in Murray that's pretty massive and has room for expansion. I don't know. Maybe we'll see this, come to fruition, but its days as the Sears block are shrinking. Intermountain is moving full throttle ahead with this project and will likely find a willing audience at City Hall. So I thought this was pretty interesting to see that there are, these guys seem to be in favor of it. Maybe another hospital is a good thing. Maybe there's demand for it. I don't know. But, to me, it seems like, man, another hospital right downtown, probably not the best spot for it, considering there's already so many hospitals up by the University of Utah. So, pretty interesting stuff there. So that kind of wraps up our live stream here today. Unless anybody's got questions, if you guys do have questions, make sure to drop it in the comment section below. I'd love to answer any questions that people might have about Utah. If you're moving to Utah, reach out to me. You can find my information in the description box below. As always, you can call, text, or email me if you have questions about your, individual situation, or, whether you should buy, whether you should sell, maybe you should rent a house, whatever it might be, anything real estate related. I'd love to help you if I can. But yeah, I'm going to stick around here for a couple minutes, see if anybody has questions. I can run through a map if you got questions about areas, air quality, traffic, if you got questions about housing, if you got questions about recreation, things to do outdoors, whatever it might be, I'm here to be a resource for you. So I know there's a couple people on here. If you have any questions, let me know, and we'll just kind of hang out for a second. All right, questions. I don't see any questions that are jumping on here. So I'm going to probably just end this live broadcast. I really appreciate you guys jumping on here with me. If you haven't, if you want to go back and actually take a look at what we talked here today, talking traffic, talking this hospital rezone, what's going on here in the market, definitely do so. But with that being said, guys, stay tuned. We've got another video coming out tomorrow. And then again on Tuesday at 5 o'clock Mountain Time, we'll have our weekly, standard video that comes out. We're pretty much doing Fridays and Tuesdays at this point at 5 o'clock Mountain Time. So you can plan on that release schedule. And then I'll be back here every Thursday night at 7 o'clock to do a quick little live stream with everybody. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.